Good evening, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the fourth edition of the Alabama Crimson Tide call-in show. And we wish you a very happy Halloween, and we hope you're having one tonight for sure. And I know you'll have one because this is the fourth edition of the call-in show from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Jeffrey at Only Taught Sports, as we go over our take on the latest news and notes on Alabama and we take your calls. We don't care that you're a Bama fan, Auburn fan, Tennessee fan. We don't care who you pull for. We want you to come on in and discuss your take on the Alabama Crimson Tide with us. We'd love to hear from you. How you doing tonight, Jeffrey?
Doing great, man. Absolutely. We want to hear from you. It doesn't matter whether you're a Tennessee fan, Alabama fan, an Indiana fan. It doesn't matter what team you are a fan of. And like Jackson said, hope you are having a happy Halloween. We got the fourth edition of the Crimson Tide College Show. It's the spooky edition, if you don't mind. We gotta spice it up a little bit for Halloween, but absolutely not spooky times for Alabama, though, because great week last week. Yeah, there was some reasons why it ended up being a great week. We know that Missouri had some injuries. That's unfortunate for them coming into the game, that they had some problems there. You'd love for them to be healthy. You don't want anybody hurt. But it was a great week for Alabama last week to hopefully get them back on track and have a shot still to make the college football playoff, which they definitely still do. So as we're on the spookiest night of the year, got some haunts going on. Alabama football is definitely trending back in the right direction for now, at least.
Well, Halloween's getting close to being over a few hours from now, which means it's time to get started on that holiday shopping experience. So you know what that means. Come on in and get the disputed national champions, college football's historical 1990s reset from Mark Rogers himself, where you can see the history of the 1990s and Mark's takes on it. And he will be going over what happened in the 90s, how the decade changed the sport, why the championship results should be questioned, how to critically think through the scenarios, to appreciate the accomplishments of teams that were not recognized as champions. This book provides an in-depth analysis of the changes, controversies, and outcomes that defined a decade of college football. It challenges readers to explore and critically evaluate the decisions that shaped the national championship landscape. Unlock the mysteries of college football's most debated decade. Grab your copy now.
Absolutely. You're not going to want to miss out on that. We got Christmas on the way, Black Friday, all the big, holidays when it comes to getting gifts, even though definitely with Christmas, there's other reasons to celebrate. But at the same time, people do get gifts on Christmas. So perfect Christmas gift for the sports fan in your life, especially a college football diehard. If you guys are here, you guys are college football diehards. So you're going to want to check out Mark Rogers' book for sure. Definitely a potential Christmas gift idea for, me and probably some family members as well. Definitely can't wait to check it out. I'm sure it's fantastic. The reviews are fantastic on it. Jackson has a copy already, and I'm sure he's been enjoying it. I saw your post that you did where you were reading it. John did it too. I was like, there you go. That's cool. Yeah. So absolutely.
Well, I had some free time at the office. I figured I could do something besides typing all day. So it's like,
oh my gosh, the typing gets old, man. You know what I'm saying? it gets old. It gets old. Like Twitter, like I just can't sit there all day and be tweeting all the time. It gets old. So what do you even call X? Like what is a post? Posting. Just a post. Like that's lame, dude. Like Twitter tweeting, that was a lot better. X is like you can't be Xing. What does that even mean? Like no, it's posting.
Yeah, that's something weird in a post that we shouldn't say out in public.
Yeah, trust me, it's broken. I don't know. I prefer the name Twitter, obviously for various reasons. But Alabama football. What do you think with Alabama right now, Jackson? What's your take on the Crimson Tide after that really good win over Missouri? Do you feel like they're back? Do you feel like they're in good shape? or do you still got a lot of concerns and feel like it was just kind of, I wouldn't say an aberration, but more like Missouri being down versus Bama being really good and back again?
I think it's more of Missouri being really down because I mean, in the preseason, as we saw, like I put like a list of top 10 teams that I felt were overhyped in the preseason in July. Missouri was one of those top 10 teams, and I felt like if it weren't for that easy schedule, they wouldn't be thriving but it's looking like they've been exposed quite a lot because they couldn't handle A&M. They almost lost to Vandy. Of course, they got slapped by Alabama big time. We don't know what the rest of November's looking like for the Tigers, but we'll wait and see. But as for those Bayou Bengals, which we'll have some really wonderful guests for LSU week next week, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to love them. We're going to wait and see because, I mean, as Peter Burns from SEC Network put it best, that is a college football playoff elimination game.
Yes, 100%. It's why it really makes me laugh, Jackson, when people keep saying, what is Alabama's CFP scenarios? Can they still make the playoffs? Yes. All they got to do is win out. It's not that hard, right? All Alabama football has to do is win out, and they are going to make the college football playoff. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how many teams win. It will all sort itself out. Alabama goes 10-2, wins out the rest of the way. They will make the college football playoff. If they lose again, if they lose to LSU, Oklahoma, any of those teams, it doesn't matter who it is. If they lose again, they're not making the playoff. They can't get in at 9-3, especially with how the season has been looking so far with teams like BYU, Iowa State, Indiana are all doing really well. And those teams are in the conversation. You're not going to be able to go up against a one-loss team like that with a 3-loss Alabama. It's not going to happen. So, plus losing to Vandy, and that loss is potentially going to look worse and worse as the time goes by if Vandy's record gets worse. So, it's just not feasible for Alabama to get in with 3 losses. It's impossible. They have to win out. The weird scenario is if they do win out, and they go 10-2, and then somehow they make the SEC championship game, title game, that would be messed up. Now, their odds of making the SEC title game are very slim. And it's the same thing. I'm sure you remember, Jackson, when I was talking about Indiana on the Indiana channel at the Voice of College Football. Check that out. You guys do not want to miss Indiana at the Voice of College Football content. Indiana having a great season. But I said that it honestly would be better for Indiana if they lose to Ohio State and go 11-1. It would be better if they do not make the Big Ten title game. Because if they make the Big Ten title game and they lose and they're 11-2, they probably miss the playoffs. It would be better for them just to be 11-1 and then get into the playoff that way. Whereas, same thing with Bama. If they're 10-2, you don't want them making the SEC title game. Because if they lose in the SEC title game and go 10-3, they're not making the college football playoff. 10-2, they're in the college football playoff. So for Alabama, you just want to win out, and you do not want to make the SEC title game. That's the scenario to me for Alabama football. And any loss in the regular season ends anything. It's over. Even LSU, doesn't matter. They can lose to LSU, and you can say, well, they can win the last 3. Nope, they're not getting in. They're not going to get in that scenario. So Alabama's playoff scenarios are very cut and dry, and all they have to do is just knock off LSU to get back on track completely and then just win out the rest of the way. That's all they got to do. To me, Jackson, I feel like 100% agree with you on the take with Missouri. Yeah, it was more Missouri being down than Alabama being good, in my opinion, but despite however down Missouri was and having Drew Pine, who should be riding the Pine quarterback in, he's terrible. Drew Pine is bad. It doesn't matter, though. To me, I feel that this game for Alabama is a game they needed. They just needed a game where everything went their way to get their confidence back. Because obviously, whether people say it or not, oh, they don't need to be looking at social media. They don't need to see what people are saying. You know what? A lot of players are going to do that. Whether they should or not. They know what people are saying about him. So, yeah, Alabama, Bama's down. They're falling off a cliff. They're not the same program now. Well, that gets in their head. So for Alabama just to have this game where basically nothing went wrong, they blew them out, shut them out, perfect game basically for Alabama essentially. No matter how down Missouri is, I just think it was a game that Alabama desperately needed to get back on track. And I think this type of game gives them a better chance to win out now versus if they had to barely beat Missouri.
Yeah. And honestly, we're really just going to have to step it up. And, we can't sit there and look at Oklahoma like it's an easy win because I know Oklahoma's been down. That's what got us against Vanderbilt. We looked at like it was an easy win. It'd be
Oklahoma's a much more talented team than Vanderbilt. So, you can't overlook Oklahoma.
No.
And it's on the road. I mean, it's a road game. It's not going to be an easy environment regardless. But I agree with you. I mean, Alabama just needs to be focused and treat every opponent like, hey, they can beat us. That's what they need to do. I mean, they lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to I don't care how good Vandy is. I really don't care like how good Vanderbilt is. I'm happy for Vanderbilt. It's good that they're having a decent year, but I really don't care how good Vanderbilt is. Alabama shouldn't have lost to them. There's no excuse for that. There is no excuse for that. Alabama is such a far superior team than Vanderbilt. It's unbelievable. We know that inferior teams can win, but Alabama shouldn't have lost to Vanderbilt. So, yeah, absolutely they could lose to Oklahoma if they play like garbage in that game. I mean, even Auburn, look at Auburn. Auburn last year, losing to Mexico State, and should have beat Alabama. Alabama on 4th and 31 at the end of the game somehow wins with Milroe to Bond. But still, Auburn can beat them. You never know. Alabama just has to play hard, play well, and not overlook anybody, which I don't know why you would. It's the SEC. You should never overlook anybody.
And, we're looking at Auburn, and I'm wondering which Auburn we're going to get on Saturday. The one that blew it against Oklahoma or the one that smacked Kentucky around on Saturday going against Vanderbilt?
Yeah, and the thing is, I honestly, for me, I don't know about you, Jackson, but I don't understand why we've seen so many upsets and we've seen so many games not go the way that they were supposed to by the spread or who was favored. And we still see people just surprised or, this wasn't expected. Yeah, it might not have been expected, but these upsets aren't surprising me as much anymore. Yeah, like when we pick games, I pick games wrong all the time. Like I picked last week Wisconsin to upset Penn State. Didn't happen. Upsets though do happen. Kennesaw State beat Liberty. No one predicted that. Nobody thought that was going to happen.
Let alone watched it until they saw it on their Twitter feed.
Yeah. So
Me
the
included.
thing is that, yes, like you look at Alabama being a significantly better team than an Auburn or a Vanderbilt, they can still lose. Saban's gone. The coach that was able to get the players to not take the rat poison is gone. You have to deal with a new coach who is a really good coach, but he's not Saban. And these players, I think Alabama still has a really talented team, but I do think the talent is a little bit less than it's been recently. It's not by a lot, but it is a little bit less. I just still think that it has to do with other teams being a lot more even. A lot of the teams have transfers. They have quality players of their own. I mean, based off talent alone, a team like Indiana should not be undefeated right now. But they do have a few really decent players that are playing really hard, and they have a really good coach, and they did have a pretty soft schedule, and look where they're at. It's true. It can happen. But I don't think Alabama's fallen off a cliff. I just think that the fundamentals and what Saban was able to do year in and year out, which is just almost unrepeatable. No one can replicate it. It's gone, and that's why Alabama is human, and that's why they can lose more frequently, and that's why they can't overlook opponents because they can be more easily beaten. It doesn't mean that they should be beaten. But to get back to your point about Auburn with Vandy, like that game right there is a perfect example. Auburn's the more talented team. Auburn's favored by 7, but that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. Vanderbilt could easily win that game. They've already proven that they can hang with good teams like Texas and Missouri, if you count them as a good team when they're healthy, and beat a team like Bama. It can happen. But at the same time, like you said, Auburn, the way they played against Kentucky, they could beat Vanderbilt very easily. I mean, Auburn is a team that has good players. They have players I don't care what anybody says about their talent. Auburn has players on their team that will be playing in the NFL. They always do. That's not the problem. The problem is that their team's very disjointed, and they don't have great players at all positions. And in the SEC, to win, you pretty much have to have great players at every position. And if you don't, you're going to lose games. Like even Georgia lost to Alabama, and Alabama's down, and they're terrible. I mean, think about like how the narrative would be right now, Jackson, if Alabama lost to Georgia.
Oh, God.
If Alabama lost to Georgia, like the thing that's keeping Alabama afloat right now is that win. Because if they didn't have that win over Georgia, then they'd have 3 losses right now, and everybody would be like, oh, they're horrible. They're not horrible, though. They're just not as dominant as they used to be.
And all we would basically hear about is how Georgia's officially the new Kings.
They're not. They're not. That's why I'm really glad they didn't beat Alabama, because that's what would be being said. It's already being said. I don't know how it can be said. They're not the most dominant team. They beat Kentucky by 1, Jackson. 1 point. And Kentucky sucks. So, yeah, again, no, Georgia's not unbeatable. They're not the best team in college football by far. That is not the case.
Oh, here we go. And we have our first caller. Our friend Mike G is on the line. How are you doing tonight?
Hey,
How
Mike.
you doing tonight, good buddy? Happy Halloween.
Thank you. Happy Halloween to y'all, too. I'm doing very good. How are y'all doing?
Doing fantastic,
Doing great.
man.
Glad you're having a good Halloween.
I am just chilled out. I'm not doing a whole lot, guys, to be honest with you. It's pretty peaceful in my neighborhood. So, but I am having a good Halloween, just chilling. And I think the Houston Texans play tonight. So I'm a Houston Texans fan, so I might can catch some of that game before I go to bed. You know?
Oh, wow. How's that game going?
I don't know. I haven't even checked. I just got home and sat down recently. I haven't even checked really, but I know the Texans do play. And with that being said, remember it came down to C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Remember, they were like going to be the number 1, number 2 picks. And as a Houston Texan fan, I was hoping we'd get Bryce Young, because I'm an Alabama fan, Houston Texan. So, and I really thought Bryce Young was better than C.J. Stroud. But I stand corrected. C.J. Stroud he's killing it in Houston. He's killing it over there in Houston. He's doing real, real good. He's proven all the doubters like me wrong, so I give the dude credit. And I don't know what's going on with Bryce. I think the team just sucks as far as
Mike. The Carolina Panthers suck.
Bryce Young is unfortunately the fall guy for that moron David Tepper.
He's terrible.
I feel sorry for Bryce. I think Bryce Young has a lot of potential, and I wish he would be on some team like Dallas or something, where he has a chance, but he's just got to survive where he's at, man. But I'm happy. But hey, guys, you know what I was thinking about like the Big Ten? I looked at the rankings, right? And I tried to be fair. But I look at the ranking. The Big Ten has 4 of the top 7 teams or something like that. Excuse my language, and parents, put your heads over there, but that is total bull crap. That's bull crap. 4 of the top 10 teams in the country do not reside in the Big Ten. That is complete crap. For instance, guys, let me ask you this. Indiana, for instance, is number 7. Alabama is number whatever we are, number whatever they have us, 180. But if we played at Indiana on Saturday, I guarantee you we'd be favored, and I guarantee you we'd beat their ass. I guarantee you. But yet they're sitting at number 7 because, get this, guys, between Ohio State posers, Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana, their hardest out-of-conference game is West Virginia. So they're complete posers, man. And look, compared to the SEC, look at why we've been playing out of conference, man. Win or lose, we lost some of them, but at least we're playing them, dude. The Big Ten, it pisses me off, the unlevel playing field between like our Tide, who struggling. Tough rigors of the SEC versus the complete cakewalk, in my opinion only, that is the Big Ten. Like, for instance, guys, you know what the difference between Alabama and Indiana? How many 5-stars we got on our roster right now? 25 5-stars? Indiana's never had a 5-star on the history of their program. We would kick their butt midfield in front of their families. It'd be ugly. But yet they're sitting at number 7 because they're in the weak-ass Big Ten. So that's all I got to say about that. I'll let. So how do y'all feel about that, guys? What do you think?
I will say that Ohio State, I agree with 100% that they shouldn't be ranked where they're at because they really haven't done anything. I mean, yeah, they almost beat Oregon. I get that, but like they struggle with Nebraska. I mean, they just haven't looked all that good. But I mean, the issue is that it's brand power for those 3 teams at the top, Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State. It's brands. The only reason Indiana's ranked where they're at is because they've been dominant. I know they haven't played anybody, but they've been dominant. I agree that if Alabama played Indiana, 9 out of 10 times Alabama would win. Indiana probably would win 1 out of those 10 games like Vandy did this year. Vandy was a 1 out of 10 type of game. If Alabama played Vandy 9 more times, they'd win every one. So it's just kind of a deal where with Indiana, yeah, they haven't really played anybody. I mean, I'm happy for Indiana because they haven't had a good season in like 50 years. So they're kind of like the outlier where I'm happy for them. But with Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, it's like, well, they're always ranked higher than they should be. So it's kind of irritating. Especially with, I mean, a team like Penn State, I mean, they haven't proven anything. They never do prove anything. They always lose. And Ohio State, they're basically Penn State, but just they win more often. They win the big game more frequently, but it's mostly within their conference until recently with Michigan. They can't win a big game out of conference ever. Oregon, I think Oregon's really good, but they can still be beat. Everybody can be beat this year. I obviously, most years that's true, but like there's usually like one team, especially from the SEC, like Bama or Georgia, where like, yeah, they're not going to lose. But this year, every team looks beatable. I think that Alabama, on paper, playing their best football is better than every single team in the Big Ten. But when they're playing some of their worst football, they can be beat by Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, and maybe Indiana on a really bad day. But other than that, like Alabama is better than all those teams. They just haven't played like it the whole time this season. And unfortunately, with 2 losses, that's why they're ranked lower than all those teams because they are undefeated, except Ohio State. But I do agree on not playing anybody.
Well, and one win that's really got better for Oregon over the time is that Boise State win. Because like at the time when Oregon beat Boise State by a field goal, a lot of people were like, this is not a team that's going to beat Ohio State. And I remember telling people as season went on, it's like Oregon's saving their best stuff for Ohio State. They did, and we saw what happened.
They won by 1 play.
True.
Yeah.
You know, Boise State, they look like the best group of 5 team in all of college football. So, things change easily. And as Jeffrey said himself, perception changes very easily. If Boise State played West Virginia, I think Boise State would beat West Virginia easily. And you think the calls for Neil Brown to get fired are bad now? Wait until that happens.
I hear you. It's like you say, Indiana played nobody. I guess that's kind of what I was trying to point. They're 7-0. They played. You think Indiana could have beat Georgia? Come on.
No.
They think they could have went and beat at Tennessee? Come on. I guess that's what I was trying to say. You know what I mean? So it's like that's such an unlevel playing field between the Big Ten and the SEC. It's just, to me, it's almost not fair to me. But another thing that's my rant on that. That's because just to me it blows me away. Like Ohio State, this is what I feel about this. It's not a 12-team playoff. It's an 11-team playoff. Because Ohio State's going to have a spot reserved no matter what they do. They're going to lose all their big games for the most part. Penn State's not a big game to me. I'm sorry. Ohio State, Penn State's not a big game. My opinion only. Ohio State, Penn State's not a big game. Now, if you're a Big Ten fan, yeah, it's a top 5 game. Yeah, sure it is. But Ohio State's going to win that game, man. They're going to win. That's the kind of game they win. Then conference games like that against another overrated conference opponent, that's how they stay relevant. Ohio State's going to win that game, dude. They're probably going to win it. That's just my opinion. Could be wrong. But that's how they stay relevant, is by winning these kind of games. But every big game they play, other than these kind of overrated Big Ten games, other than these, they lose. They lost to Missouri. They lost. They lost to Michigan. They couldn't beat Michigan three times in a row because. But before that, they lose. Honestly, I can go on and on. They're 2-14 versus SEC in bowl games, but they're 700 winning percentage against the rest of the Big Ten. It's such an unlevel playing field. Yeah, there's good teams in the Big Ten. Yeah, they beat us. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, Michigan beat us. Yeah, I mean, but Indiana number 7 compared to Alabama number 15, the biggest joke in college football right now is that what I just said right there. I guarantee you, if Indiana played what we played, they'd have 4 losses. That's my opinion. And if we played what they played, we'd be undefeated. That's just my opinion. You know, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But you know, as far as also this game coming up, LSU game, I'm a little worried about it, guys. I'll be honest with you, because
same.
I look at trends. I look at trends and flows. Look at trends and flows on X's and O's. And LSU's hungry. I know we're Bama, and I know we're capable, and I know it's 50-50. Don't get me wrong. And I'm surprised we're not favored by 30. But I'm a little worried because LSU's backs against their wall. Their last game was a loss. This is a night game in Baton Rouge. Bama does have defensive backfield problems. I'm not going to be blind to it. Our team does have some problems, you know. But I'm so I'm a little worried about this game. But it's kind of a must-win game, I guess, for us. I guess, yeah, I would think it's a playoff elimination game for us. But I hope we win it, guys.
Absolutely. I mean, if Alabama does lose to LSU, their playoff chances are done. It would take so much chaos for them to get back into the picture, and I don't see it. So, and same with LSU. And the thing that really hurts in this game is kind of like with Bama Tennessee. It felt like a 50-50 game, and it ended up being a 50-50 game. But the home crowd does matter, and it's at Death Valley, and I think the game is already scheduled for 7:30 on ABC, so it's going to be a night game in Death Valley. That's a problem. It's same thing with A&M. LSU went to A&M at night, and A&M at night is a problem. Those environments are great during the day, but I still believe at night it just adds a little extra juice to it. So yeah, if Alabama was at home, it would be a lot more likely that they would win. They could still win at LSU. They've done it before, but that's just going to be so hard in that environment at night. In LSU, like you said, backs against the wall, and it's an elimination game. That's just not going to be easy at all.
Well, and it's a good thing we don't have Texas A&M on the schedule, especially on the road, because if we went to College Station this year, we'd be in trouble.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you're right. But hey, I'm certain Indiana can go to LSU and beat them, you know. But no, I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. I'm just sorry about that. But Indiana would get crushed at LSU, by the way. But I'm just trying to point out some different. But get this, man. LSU, this is a playoff elimination. Like you said, being an evening game. But listen, I think LSU is going to get a bad call and litter the field with corn dogs. I can totally see that playing out. You know what I mean? All the corn dogs on the field. Just kidding, man. The corn dog. But hey, guys, it's going to be a good. We got to hang in there, man. You know, number 1 recruiting class. Future's bright. The SEC is brutal. I mean, yeah, but honestly, if Alabama was in the Big Ten, we'd be undefeated. If Indiana was where we're at, they'd have 4 losses. I mean, it's a complete joke, but it's what we got to deal with. And the rest of the world's trying to keep looking for reasons to keep Alabama out, which they found them. We got 2 losses, Vandy, and they found them. So be it. But if we lined up against Indiana tomorrow, I say we'd beat their butt bad. 7-11, we beat them. Well, we beat them bad. But that's just what I'm trying to say. It just bugs me. And also, but Penn State's a good team. You're right. Penn State's a good team, and they can beat Alabama on certain. You're right. The top three can, not Indiana. I don't know about that, but the top three, yeah, I do believe they can, and they have. You're right. Well, anyway, guys, I won't keep you off there. I just want to call in and thank y'all for taking my call, and good luck. Roll Tide, and
Roll Tide. We're glad you called in, and we'll be
Appreciate
seeing
it.
you soon.
Absolutely, guys. Y'all take care.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, and hopefully the Roll Tide keep on rolling. I mean, Mike G makes fantastic points. I mean, the thing is talent discrepancy is large when it comes to a team like Indiana versus Alabama, LSU. There's no doubt about it. Indiana's never had a 5-star recruit. I mean, if Indiana recruited at the level Penn State and Ohio State did, then yeah, they could knock off Alabama. I think Indiana this year, if they were playing at home against Alabama and Alabama had the game that they had against Vanderbilt, Indiana could win. But it would take that performance. Do you agree with that, Jackson? Do you think if Alabama played at Indiana on Saturday and Alabama had the game that they had against Vandy, Indiana wins? I agree.
Oh, yeah.
They would win. Indiana would win. The issue is that was Alabama's worst performance of the year. I think Indiana's a better football team than Vanderbilt. And I know some people are going to think that's stupid. I think so. But the problem is like Mike G said, the schedule difference is key. That's the problem. Like, you talk about the fact that Big Ten teams do play easier schedules. It's true, 110%. The SEC has harder schedules because the SEC is harder teams. Like, we've seen the voice of college football himself, Mark Rogers, point this out about talent discrepancy, that the vast majority of 5-star recruits go to the SEC. They just do. Think about it, Jackson. There's 16 teams in the Big Ten. How many of those teams regularly get 5-star players? About 10 of those programs? Because you're talking about LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, teams like that. Ole Miss can even maybe get them these days. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking all these programs can get 5-star guys. The Big Ten, how many teams in the Big Ten regularly get 5-star players? It was Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And even Michigan barely ever gets them. But
Oregon.
Sometimes. And now that you add those teams from the Pac-12, Oregon and USC. Before those teams were added, it was just those three. Outside of that, who else does? Iowa doesn't get 5 stars. If they get one, it's like once in a million years. Wisconsin doesn't. That's why the teams have a talent gap.
Nebraska can't really go behind the 90s anymore.
No. So that's the thing. Like, Indiana just can't compete for those type of players, and that's why they've been bad for so long. IU is the exception. Because like Mike said, Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon. Oregon's basically replacing Michigan this year. So it's the big three. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. It's usually been Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. But now you got Oregon. Indiana's never involved with this. This is, I don't even want to call it a one-off. I hope it's not a one-off. But this is most likely, this type of season will be a one-off. Even if Signet, which again, I know this is an Alabama show, but since Mike brought it up, I'm just saying, even if Signetti stays next year, I highly doubt Indiana's going to start out 8-0. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. This is a once in a blue moon situation for Indiana. This will not happen again, realistically, in a long time. If Signetti leaves, yeah, they're going to suck again. But I don't see him leaving after this season. I really don't. I think he stays with the program for a while. But I just don't see them having this type of season next year. Maybe they start out 5-3, 6-2. I don't see a 8-0 start. Now, if they do, sweet, awesome. But I don't see it. But this is a one-off. This is the best team Indiana's had in 30, 40 years. So I think on a really good day at home, not at Alabama, at home, I think they can knock off the Crimson Tide. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think we'll see Signetti leave Indiana because I just got that feel that he looks like the kind of guy that wants to build something. He doesn't want to just up and leave for the next paycheck. Because, I mean, God knows he's got a lot of money, I'm sure.
Well, Indiana's going to give him an extension. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I mean, some people say it's premature, like Mel Tucker. See, here's the problem, though. Mel Tucker's situation was so obviously one player. You know what I'm saying? It was Kenneth Walker, and that was it. And you talk about an easy schedule. That's Michigan State that year. Michigan State was not good, man. They beat a crummy Indiana team that year by like 4. Okay, and Indiana should have won the game. Jack Tuttle threw like 4 picks. That's why Jack Tuttle retired. He's terrible. Okay, so Michigan State was an anomaly. He had one good player. How many players does Indiana have that are good this year? Like 12? So it's not a one-player effort here. This is a completely different situation. Plus, Indiana's play calling is way better than Michigan State's that year. Kurt Cignetti's a way better coach than Mel Tucker ever was and ever could even dream to be. So, yeah, that's the thing with Cignetti. I believe that if Indiana pays him a lot, like $8-9 million a year, that will price out most programs. And I know people say, well, Indiana's not going to do that. I think they will. Indiana's got the money to do that. They fired Allen. They got the money to do it. And I think Indiana will be an 8-4 type of program. 7-5, 8-4 every year. And that's what Indiana fans have been begging for years. Yeah. 7-5, 8-4 for me. Perfect. No problem. I mean, yeah, if you're going 8-4 every year, you'd like a really good year every now and then. But from where Indiana's come from, going 4-8 every year, 8-4 is fantastic. This type of season won't happen all the time. Again, it's a rare thing. But I think with Cignetti, you can be 7-5, 8-4, maybe 9-3, maybe have a 10-2 year in there. That's what I see. But that's just my opinion. I agree. Bama would probably be favored against Indiana by 5.5 on a neutral. At Indiana, probably be like 3. At Alabama, it'd be like 8. Because the thing is, nobody, like, when not a lot of people have been watching the Indiana show yet. A lot of people don't know it exists. But Indiana is the voice of college football. If you guys want to go check that out, I would really appreciate it. For sure. Definitely help out the channel, trying to grow the community at the voice of college football. But, like Jackson just put the link right there. We really appreciate it. But what I said in that, Indiana-Washington live stream, previewing that game, if the game was at Washington, it would have been a problem. Okay? It would have been a very bad problem. I was like, we're very lucky this game is at Indiana. Why? Because Washington is a tough environment. Look what Michigan did when they went to Washington. It didn't turn out very well. So Washington is a problem on their own field. So, yeah, Indiana has definitely gotten the benefit of the doubt of, like, most of their games have been at home. I mean, their literal only 2 road games have been against teams that don't have a home atmosphere, UCLA and Northwestern. Now they actually are going to one against Michigan State. It's going to be interesting. I do agree, Jim. If Cignetti has success, he's going to bring in some 4-stars. He technically already has 2. He actually had 2 more, but they decommitted. So that sucks. And one of them might recommit because I'm going to Colorado, but I might not go to Colorado because of the fact Indiana is actually better than Colorado, but I'm still playing my cards right. He's trying to get more NIL. And, there's players you might get that are 4-stars. So, yeah, that's true. But back to Alabama, though, because that's why you guys are here. The thing with what Mike G said, yeah, Alabama's recruiting like crazy still. But if the coaching isn't there, it's not going to matter. Look at Texas A&M. So that's why with Kalen DeBoer, I feel like this past week, even though Missouri is terrible right now with the backup quarterback, I think it was big for Bama to win the way that they did because it's not just talent. You have to have good coaching too. If you have just talent and no good coaching, you're not going to win anything.
Yeah. You need some good coaches. That's key to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Well, and I will say, though, we love having some members in Alabama at the Voice of College Football. So what we're doing is sending you an invite to become a YouTube member at Alabama at the Voice of College Football. I can tell you right now, you're going to get some awesome, awesome perks. That I can personally guarantee. So here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Membership invite. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Jackson just sent the invite. There's a lot of perks. Like you get emojis that you can use in the chat. You also have a badge, a loyalty badge next to your name, and you also get a lot of
By
other perks as
becoming a
well,
Crimson
depending on the tiers. And Jackson's going to read them.
Well, when you become a Crimson Faithful member, you get that loyalty badge next to your name in the comment section and in the live chat. Any emoji you can use, and you get a shout out from us. And you get priority replies to comments and access to a monthly hangout from hanging out with all of us here at Alabama with the Voice of College Football by becoming a Saban disciple for $4.99 a month. And finally, for $9.99 a month, you can give out a content request. Any content request you want to give out. Anything really for Alabama with the Voice of College Football. If you want us to interview a former player or a former coach, like anybody, literally anybody, we'll make sure we can get them for you. We will not let bad weather stop us. We're not letting rain, nothing. We're not letting bad internet stop us. We're not gonna let anything stop us from filling out that request for you. And you can connect on social media with us.
Yeah, it's like that song, Jackson, that 80s song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. If you remember that song.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's gonna stop us now. That's literally like you were just saying there. Nothing with the internet, nothing. It doesn't matter. We're gonna get your content requests out there and definitely interviewers as well. A lot of great content coming to Alabama with the Voice of College Football. In addition, already to the Monday show with Jackson and Johnny, sometimes me, but not often. And also the Thursday night show. You guys are here with the call-in show. If you guys like to call in, the link is in the chat. And also, you can't forget about the post-game show with Jackson and Johnny as well. Sometimes me, depends if I'm able to make it. But definitely a lot of great stuff coming down the pike at Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And we appreciate Liam O'Hara for already being a member as well at Alabama with the Voice of College Football. So definitely you want to join him and a few other people that have already signed up. Definitely you won't regret it. And Liam said A&M played a great second half in the LSU game. 100%. Marcel Reed coming in completely changed the game. And Brian Kelly had literally no answer. I mean, if you ever noticed, Jackson, that Brian Kelly, when the game gets out of hand and LSU is falling behind, that he just gets this most deadpan stare that you have ever seen. He literally has no emotion. He's just like, dude just completely gives up, Jackson. He doesn't even fight back. It's like he's in the WWE ring and he's just getting like beat in the head again and again and again. And he just gives up. He doesn't even fight back. He just quits. You know what I'm saying? That to me is Brian Kelly. Once a game gets out of hand, it's done. It's over.
Agreed. And we have a friend of ours who constantly makes regular appearances on CFB After Dark on Sunday nights. And let me just tell you, it's something you want to come on and feel the noise and girls rock your boys, because we get wild, wild, wild on Sunday nights on the Voice of College Football. Yeah,
we got the 80s references now.
Oh man, I gotta get some 90s references pretty soon.
70s, baby.
Oh yeah. Our good buddy himself, Sean Garner. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Happy Halloween, Sean.
What's up, guys? You ready to talk some Merrimack? Do we have that?
I think we're on the wrong channel for that.
Shit.
Wrong, man.
Yeah, everyone join the Merrimack channel. Yeah. Get us to 10,000 subs. Yeah. Probably take about a week.
That would be insane. That would be like the biggest story in YouTube history.
Biggest joke. All right, guys.
Going tonight, man.
Are you talking about Halloween, or are you talking about my birthday from 3 days ago?
A little bit of everything.
That was fantastic. My birthday was fantastic. Didn't do a whole lot for Halloween.
Don't forget,
most people haven't. Does anybody do anything for Halloween anymore?
Where I live, there are not many children around, so it's not.
Yeah.
So it's not a don't have to go especially out of your way to accommodate any trick or treaters. But
Mhm.
anyway, guys, off week this weekend. I feel like season's on the line a week
Yeah.
from Saturday, right?
Oh yeah, Alabama at LSU is definitely for Bama's season, because for Bama fans, not making the playoff means your season's done. It's over. They don't care about any bowl game. None of that matters. I mean, I'll still be excited about their bowl game, but it still will be a sting.
Yeah, they didn't care about bowl games in the 4-team playoff. Imagine them not making a 12-team the first year.
That would be jarring. But yeah, the LSU game is an elimination game for both teams. Whoever loses is done.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't see, especially Bama's schedule the rest of the way is very soft. So I mean, maybe Oklahoma. I don't know. They seem to have come to life a little bit last week against Ole Miss, but not significantly. Shouldn't be a significant struggle. And I just want to know, like, how are we feeling about that?
Honestly, I feel like Auburn could be more of a scare than Oklahoma because, like, look, I know that Auburn will be heading over to Tuscaloosa, and the last time we lost to Auburn and Tuscaloosa was in 2010 with that comeback game, and prior to that was 2006, the week before rivalry week on November 18th of 2006.
Yeah, and that was before Saban, so it kind of is not surprising.
That was before a certain Auburn coach decided, you know what, I'm going to go become the senator. Bye. But
no. Well, no. He had to go run Cincinnati's program into the ground before he moved on to Congress.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. I feel like that's a majority of our Congress guys who started failing at their own job in life and moved on. Okay, so I would say I didn't watch. I haven't seen most of the Alabama Mizzou game this week. I know Mizzou was down their starting quarterback. And
Brady Cook tried to play. He actually started the game, but then he got hurt again. So
he was totally ineffective before he left too, right? But nonetheless, given Alabama's struggles defensively this season, how big of a deal is it to go in there and basically shut down Missouri there? I mean, Luther Burden ended the game with like 25 yards of total offense. In the game. I mean, was there anything significant that changed in the game or from their prior performances, or was just Missouri struggling in that bad of shape?
I think it was a bit of both, honestly, because the thing with Missouri is that since Drew Pine, the backup quarterback, was so bad, Missouri just kept having to run the ball. So then Alabama knew what they were going to do every play, which definitely helped. But I also feel like watching the game, Alabama's effort did seem better. They were really poised. They played hard. Even at the end, what really impressed me was when Missouri got to the goal line and they were about to score their first touchdown of the game. Alabama was up 34-0 in the fourth. Bama stopped them still. From beginning of the game to the end, they were focused. They played well. And for once, it looked like Bama had a glimpse of that first half against Georgia. It wasn't as good as that first half against Georgia, but to me, it was a game they needed to have. They just needed to have a game where everything went right to get themselves mentally back in a good place. I feel like that they've been down the past few weeks mentally as a team. I mean, I don't know the locker room. I'm not in there, but you could just tell with all the pressure it is to be at Alabama and have these two losses, you could just tell you're a little tense. This game, they relaxed. They got a lead. They kept the lead. They blew them out. It's something that they needed to have to get themselves back on track. And honestly, I think coming into a bye week and having a game against LSU, it's big for, their chances of being able to win that game. But I do think it was a bit of both, Missouri being as down as they were. But I do think Alabama played much better than they have in recent weeks as well. What are your thoughts, Jackson?
Well, and honestly, I believe that we utilized our running game more than we did in past weeks. Because I remember where you were where you said yourself, Jeffrey, that we needed to utilize our running game a little bit more. And I think they took your advice. They're like, you know what? We got to do what this Jeffrey guy said. We got to utilize our running game.
It'd be great if they did listen to me on that. That'd be fantastic. I will say, too, that Alabama actually can run the ball, which is something a lot of people have been saying that they couldn't do. Jam Miller, before the Missouri game, has been running 6 yards a carry. It's not like Alabama hasn't been able to run the ball. It's just that they haven't decided to run the ball. So I don't really know where this narrative has come from. If Bama can't run the ball, they chose not to. They just let Milroe do it every play. Milroe doesn't need to be doing everything. It puts too much pressure on him.
He doesn't need to be Michael Penix, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that has been a problem for DeBoer teams in the past, especially like against weaker competitions. You can just throw bombs on these teams all game long. You don't even need to worry about the running game as much. But in order to win some of these tougher games, you need to put some possessions together. You need to move the ball, to get first downs, to maintain possession.
I think a lot of people forget, too, that Washington, I know they don't have as much talent as Alabama did, but Washington last year had a lot of close games. There was a few matchups last year where they barely beat some pretty bad teams. So that was another thing as well.
And the thing that was true when DeBoer was at Washington was their offense was kind of hit or miss. I mean, if Penix was on, like they were unstoppable. It was just like, but then you saw in the national championship game against Michigan, I mean, sometimes even, Steph Curry has a bad night shooting, and that can't be the only way you can win. And for Washington, I know they had a Joe Moore award-winning O-line last year, but their running game was not particularly good, and they abandoned it consistently. Alabama does have the tools to be able to run the ball pretty well, even against good defenses. And I thought, in their games against Vandy, against Georgia, after they got that huge lead, part of the reason Georgia was able to come back was Alabama was just having possessions that were like 3 plays, 20 seconds.
Yeah,
it was like okay. I mean, like you're up by 4 touchdowns. I mean, why are you not trying to use the clock here a little bit? Why are you?
Yeah, if Alabama had like one drive in that second half against Georgia where it was like a 15-play, 7-minute drive down the field, even if it ended in a field goal, Georgia would not have even been able to come back in the game. Because even Indiana this year, I know they haven't played anybody. But when they played Washington this past week, Taven Jackson is way worse than Curtis Rourke. IU in that second half had an 8-minute drive that took up like 15 plays, 8 minutes, and they like ran the ball almost the entire possession. And then they scored, and that put the game away. If IU was just trying to throw and throw and throw, they lose that game because Taven Jackson is way worse than Rourke. But that's the thing with like Milroe. I mean, the team is actually built to run more. Because outside of Ron Williams, they don't have great receivers. They just don't. Alabama does not have great receivers this year outside of Ron Williams. I mean, Bernard's okay, but there's not a lot there. They're actually built to run the ball more, but they don't do it. And finally, they did it in this game against Missouri. And it, like you said, Sean, had a lot of success with it. But I agree with you. That Georgia game, it should have never even been able to come back, but Bama would not run the ball. And all those 3 and outs and the clock management has been awful, just awful.
Yeah, right. And that was a problem with Ohio State this weekend, too, against Nebraska. I don't know how much of that game you watched, but I think Ohio State, their first 4 possessions in the second half, and this might be a problem going forward the rest of the year. They had their first 4 possessions at zero first downs. Yeah, 3 and outs and a pick. And that allows teams to hang around. That allows – I mean, you can't just always rely on perimeter talent and great skill in a flashy passing game. And that's, I mean, the more Bama can do that, and LSU is a perfect opponent to do that because LSU can't stop a cold running the football. I mean, they get gashed all over the place. But the way you can keep them in that game is by turning the ball over and having short possessions. It's a game I think I look on and I feel like Alabama should win. And I bet the spread on that will be pretty close. It'll be within the field goal.
Yes.
But I mean, it'll also come down to can Bama defend the passing game of LSU? Can they slow that? Can their defense, are they really improved, or is this just sort of fake the way they played last week?
Yeah, Alabama can't give up a ton of points. I mean, if it becomes like a shootout like the Tennessee game in 2022, then Alabama's probably going to come on the wrong side of the equation, come out on the wrong side. They probably need the game to be more in the 20s than like high 30s, 40s. They don't need that because, yeah, like you said, LSU, that's what I'm worried about is if LSU, like the issue with LSU to me is like Nussmeier can have some really good plays, but man, his completion percentage is bad. And he makes a lot of mistakes. And a lot of that's because sometimes he's not protected and LSU's not running the ball that much either. But man, like there that one game against Ole Miss, he was like 19 to like 49 from passing. And he had like 300 something yards and he had like 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. It's all over the place with him. So
I mean,
if his completion percentage is good, then that means Bama's defense is bad because his completion percentage has been terrible.
Well, I mean, like the way they play their offense, they don't seem to care about completion percentage. They want chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. I'm looking at their top 2 receivers here. Lacey averaging 15.1 yards a reception. Anderson averaging 17.1. I mean, those are huge. That tells you what kind of offense this is. They're going to be trying to go vertical, and they're going to be stressing an Alabama secondary that's been shaky at times this year. So I don't know, that'll be an interesting one because I think Bama shouldn't have a problem running the rest of the table. I'm looking at LSU's schedule the rest of the way, and it's very manageable.
They have Florida, they got Vanderbilt and Oklahoma after Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, really, realistically, the winner of this game should win out.
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean they will, but they should.
Yeah, and the loser. I mean, there's no path back.
Out, but they're not going to get in.
Yeah, there's no path back for the loser. The loser is going to fall to like 20, 21, 22, and I don't think.
And at best, they can maybe get back up to like 15 or 16.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. All right, guys, I will let you get back to your people. And
Sean, one more thing.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, good buddy.
Thank you.
Glad you had a great birthday. Definitely happy birthday. Happy birthday, as Jackson would say, and hope you're having a great Halloween as well. It's almost over.
Yep. All right. Real quick. You guys got a prediction for the Buckeye game this week?
I've got Ohio State winning 20-17 against Penn State. And, I remember talking with Patrick Murphy from Buttnuts 247 this week. And, we talked a little bit about Ohio State, Penn State. And funny thing, though, that targeting call that was called on Reese?
Reese, yep.
Yeah, it was like minutes, like basically an hour before we started filming the episode. The call was reversed. So talk about perfect timing. It was like, wow.
Absolutely. That was nuts. I was not expecting them to overturn that call. Might have helped us out on the scoreboard.
I can't remember my score prediction, Sean. I did my predictions with Will the other day, and I did pick Ohio State. I don't remember what I said. It was something like 27-20 or something like that. But I picked Ohio State. Penn State, until they beat them, they're a good team, man, but their offense just still isn't there. It's not. And until they can go over the top consistently in a game, they're never going to beat Ohio State. That's why they lost last year. I think it's going to get them this year, whether Aller plays or not. I know some people saying the backup's better. It doesn't matter. I think Ohio State gets it done.
That's the one thing, too, is if this game's pretty close, pretty competitive, I don't think Penn State can get chunk plays in this game. I don't think Penn State can stretch Ohio. They're not going to get any cheap points. Ohio State can get cheap points all over the place. I mean, they can bust 50, 60-yard plays at any moment.
See, it's kind of like there's been a couple years where Ohio State's actually had a pretty poor secondary, and Penn State never could expose it. That's why they never beat them. If they could have just been able to throw the ball downfield, then they'd have been fine. I mean, they've had a couple receivers in like the last 5 years that have been decent enough. They're in the NFL. but they just never had a quarterback consistent enough to get it to them all the time. So that's the problem that they have. I mean, they just don't have the ability to stretch a defense. And until they do that, they're never going to be able to win a title. And James Franklin's always going to be called a second-rate coach. So,
all right, guys, appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Happy
you for coming
birthday, Sean, and we'll be seeing you soon.
All right, take care, guys.
You too. Here we go. And boom.
Sports Thought with Austin says, Julian Fleming revenge game. That's funny on that because he played at Ohio State and he's at Penn State now. I mean, like, that's my biggest issue with Penn State. They recruit really well. Do they recruit as well as Ohio State? No. But they recruit well. The issue is they just don't have that final piece or two. You know what I'm saying? That final piece or two to get over the top. Because Penn State fans complain so hard about, we can't win. We can't get the big game. Penn State is better than 95% of other programs. You are very lucky to be Penn State. Okay? Yeah. Like, you are a very, very good program. Really good program that's had its moments. I know people talk crap about the coach now, but Paterno, they won a lot of games, a lot of success. And yeah, in the modern era with Franklin, Penn State's not there. They can't get the big one. They can't win a title, but they're really good. It's just the problem is until they go that little step up where they can get back to being a title contender, people are always going to complain. And I get it. I understand when you're so close to something and you can't get it. It's like a kid reaching for the candy or cookie jar. He just wants it. He's so close and you can't get it. You can't have it. And it really irritates you. I understand it. But at the same time, I just have a really hard time, especially when I look at Indiana fans and some of these other programs that are horrible. You know what I'm saying? Rutgers and all that. And you're a Penn State fan and you're complaining. You go 10-2 basically every year. Yeah, that's frustrating that you're not better than that, but man, you could be a whole lot worse. And I remember James Franklin hot seat talks. I never said that he should have been on the hot seat. He is what he is. He can get Penn State to win all their games except the big one. You're not going to really get a coach better than that in most instances.
People that say he should be on the hot seat are clearly under the influence of something they shouldn't be using, honestly.
Like, I mean, Penn State's not Ohio State. They're not Alabama. They're not Georgia. They have tons of fans.
They're not Texas or Oklahoma.
No, they got a ton of fan support and they got money, but their university is also in the middle of nowhere. I mean, does anybody know Pennsylvania? You got Philly, you got Pittsburgh, and then Penn State's in the middle of Center County, in the middle of the state. There's nothing surrounding it. And they actually have no business being as good as they are. They were built up in the past by a really, really good coach. But the way that Penn State operates, they should not even be as good of a program as they are.
Great.
They shouldn't. But they are a really good program, despite having some setbacks with Paterno in the end and all that junk, and the dark little era. And also them not being a program that can be at that top tier of having all that money. I mean, Penn State is nowhere near the money that Texas and Texas A&M have. Nowhere near the money. Not even close to the amount of money. And yet they're still a really darn good program that nobody respects. So I think it'd be better to be a really darn good program that nobody respects versus a program that's garbage every year that people laugh at for existing. So It's not that bad being a Penn State fan. It's not that bad. Trust me, it is not that bad. There are a lot of worse teams out there.
Well, we'll definitely wait and see what happens for the Nittany Lions. And I just wonder if we'll see Ryan Day lose his cool like he did last Saturday. Because, did you see that GIF from the Voice of College Football X count where there's that GIF of Donald Duck just tearing up the house because he's mad because he can't even open a window? That was Ryan Day.
Well, I mean, Ryan Day, the thing is that, he's Ryan Day doesn't give off the vibes that he's very happy often. He just doesn't give off that type of vibe. Like I know there's been stories of him on game days, had some tough stuff in his life. I'm not even going to talk about that stuff. But he never, my point though, is he never has really struck me as a guy that's really ever in a good mood that often. But at the same time, he's at Ohio State and he's the coach. And yeah, there's pressure to win like every game, especially Michigan. And if you don't do that, then the fans turn on you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, when I watch him, like I'll never forget 2020 Indiana, Ohio State, Penix, and Indiana was this close to beating them. He looked like he was about to like pass out on the sideline. He looked like he was about to pass out. It's like, dude, calm down. Like, I know if you lose this game, people are going to be coming for your head because like, oh my God, we lost to Indiana. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you're way too tense. Have more confidence, man. Like, you've got the money. You've got the players. You got the coaching staff. Like, calm down a little bit, Ryan Day. It's all good. Like, we know people hate you online, but people hate everybody online, okay? The thing is like, yeah, like, to Sean, Nick Saban was like he's about to kick a puppy. The thing about Saban, though, is, yeah, he looked mad a lot, but he had emotion. Like, Ryan Day just at times just looks like he's really, you know, I'm not saying scared, but just like anxious, like, you know, like he like the job, the pressure. That's just the vibe I get. I could be completely wrong, but that's the vibe I get with Ryan Day. I feel like smiling might help him a little bit more, you know, like be in a good mood, you know, like be happy, you know, when you have success, and when you're doing bad, yeah, I get mad, but you know, I don't know. That's just my vibe with Ryan Day. I honestly don't know. I could be completely wrong, but that's just the way I feel. Sports Talk with All says Louisville and Indiana would love to go 10-2 every year. Exactly. Vanderbilt, Rutgers, Purdue, you know, Boston College, Syracuse, you know, all these teams, man. Stanford, now that they're horrible. Cal. Dude, if they went 10-2 every year, they'd lose their mind. If Indiana went 10-2 every single year for the next decade with Cignetti, it would be the best decade in Indiana football history. Why? Because they've never had a 10-win season.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If they even go 10-2 once this year, it'd be legendary. But for a decade, wow. And Penn State does that every year. Every year. And you're not happy. You're not satisfied. What a world we live in where that's not good enough, Jackson. It's not good enough. We've lost 2 games this year at Alabama, and people are losing their mind. We have more championships, Jackson, than anybody. Right?
Exactly.
Like, why are you like? I know you want to keep winning. I want Alabama to keep winning, but do you know how awesome it is that we were alive to see Bama win 6 national championships?
Yeah.
6, while I've been alive. 6, and you got all those in the past. Alabama, you were blessed to be an Alabama fan, okay? Like, and you're upset we've lost 2 games. Like, I'm upset too, but at the same time, it's like, dang, man. It's
when I was
bad.
at when I was getting my hair cut a few weeks ago at the salon, I was hearing like a few people just being like, "Oh my God, Nick Saban wouldn't have done this. Nick Saban wouldn't have done that." Which I knew that was coming, and it showed me like a few of those people. They just watch the Alabama games. They're not watching the whole thing. They're not watching the press conference. 0, nothing, 0, 0.
95% of fans don't watch that stuff, Jackson.
They should.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
There's a complete there's like 3 tiers of fans. You got your diehards, you got your casuals, and then you've got people in the middle. And when I count casuals, I even include people that like watch football once a year. Like, oh, I only watch like the national championship game. These people exist, by the way. I know a few people that only watch the national championship game or like the playoffs and nothing else. I'm like, don't you want to know what happened to get to here? Like, you don't watch anything, and then you don't keep up with anything, and then, oh, I'm going to watch the championship. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Oh, my gosh, Sean. Fancy Fast Jackson goes to the salon. Jeffrey and I goes.
Well, my aunt owns a salon, so it's like that's why I get my hair done. But
oh man,
yeah,
that's a good one, Sean. That's a good one.
At some point, I may have to get y'all hooked up. You know, just be like, you know what? You want to get your hair done? Salon? Come on in.
That's funny. That's hilarious. By the way, Austin, since you're here, you can call in if you want to, man. No, you don't have to be an Alabama fan. You can call in. We got no one on the line right now.
Not the moment.
I let my girlfriend cut my hair a while. Hey, that works. That works. That absolutely works. I've done that before, and I definitely am blessed to actually have somebody that cuts hair well, because there are some family members that, or like fiance or spouse or girlfriend that can't cut hair. Okay, they exist. They cannot cut hair. Definitely. I will get my hair cut soon. A lot of people have been talking about my hair. I know it's longer than usual. It will be done. It will be done soon.
I mean,
oh my gosh,
we're in show business, kid. We gotta look good.
I don't think I look that bad yet. It's not like I got the Mike Gundy hair everybody keeps talking about. Oh man. Breakaway 34 is watching on too, and all that gets me out of the tower single level one of these days. Oh man. Well, I mean that's the thing. I mean, appreciate you being a Breakaway 34, but the thing is that, like Jackson said about the diehards though, like going to the salon, people are talking about saving everything. That's the problem though. Like most people don't follow college football as closely as we do, so we don't know all the nuances. We don't know all the behind the scenes. Or they don't, rather. We do. I mean, we don't know everything. I'm not in the locker rooms, or me and Jackson don't know everything about Alabama football. Like I follow Alabama football, Indiana football, all that kind of stuff, but I don't know the team because I'm not there. But I know as much as I possibly can know, being, a sports commentator, YouTuber, host, whatever you want to call it. So I try to keep up as much as I can. And we know a lot more than just people that read like one article a year or watch like 5 games a year. But the thing is, I think the worst crowd, honestly, more so than the casuals, because when you know a casual and you see one, when they literally know nothing and they're like asking you a bunch of stuff and like they only know like a couple things, and they use those opinions to make a point that's completely wrong, which everybody has a right to make an opinion, but when you don't know something, then it's hard to make an opinion on it that makes sense because you don't know. But the people in between the diehards and the casuals, though, the middle ground, that's the worst because they know what's going on. They follow it decent enough, but they don't follow it completely. So they're still missing a lot of stuff. And those are usually the people with the loudest opinions. That's the issue. The diehards, I mean, they're going to have their opinions as well, but usually their opinions are more so on the reasonable or correct side because they know what they're talking about, because they're paying attention. The problem is people that are like diehard fans of a certain team, though. That's the only time when diehards get frustrating, is because when you're a diehard fan of a certain team and you let that blind your thinking, like, oh, you're a USC fan and you think USC's still a great team this year. That's clearly not true. You know what I'm saying? That's the type diehard that you can get blinded. Like most USC or Michigan fans would be like, yeah, we're not very good. You know what I'm saying? We're not very good this year. Like even someone like me as an Alabama fan have said multiple times, and you have too, Alabama's not as good this year. And we expected it. We both predicted Alabama to lose 2 games. And if they went out, then that's exactly what we predicted. Yeah, so even though we are Alabama diehard fans, and we are diehard fans of the sport of college football in general, we most of the time don't let that blind our thinking. Most of the time. And if we do, it's usually rare, and we admit it when we're wrong.
Well, and again, where it's like some of the people that were just like really mad this year, just like, oh well, Alabama, this is not what Saban would have, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, of course, they didn't go out and use their money to get preseason magazines. They're not spending all their time watching college football shows in the off season, unfortunately. And it's like, and it showed too, but it's like, I'm not like telling people what they ought to do, but it's like, if you ever want to know what's going on in all of college football or what's going on with your team, make sure to read all about your team on any moment of the day, any moment of the night, especially when you have off hours. Make sure you read about them as much as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, some people can't do that. I get it. Like even me, I have, sometimes times when I can't keep up with stuff. Like I'm not able, like I have days where I can't like look at Twitter for like an hour and see what the heck's going on. You know, like it happens. Like, but I still do everything I possibly can to keep up with what's going on, because I mean, you just come on here and you're just rambling about stuff and you don't even know what the heck's going on. Then I mean, no one's going to take you seriously. No one. I mean, there are people on major networks and platforms that you can just like feel like that's all they do is like they don't even barely research anything, and people call them out for it. Like, do you even know what you're talking about? You know, you do want to appear knowledgeable, and you do want to, you know, not let your bias show, which sometimes it's hard to do that, but you know, you try to do that. But I mean, the main key is, even if you do like follow the sport really closely, everybody has bad takes. Everybody has bad takes. We all have opinions, and we all have takes that are wrong. I mean, like, we all were wrong on Florida State. Every single one. Casuals, diehards, it don't matter who you are. Florida State fans, it doesn't matter. We all pegged them wrong. Everybody pegged them wrong. I had them going 8-4, and people were telling me that was low. They were like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. They're gonna go 10-2."
That was smarter than me, because than where I had them. Because honestly, I thought they'd repeat as I thought they could repeat as ACC champs. Like, good God, it's like I'm embarrassed of that take.
Oh yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, everybody has bad predictions. Like Breakaway said, Florida State was so shocking. That was just insane. Or like Kansas. I don't think I did a Big 12 video, but I kind of like had a roundabout for what I said with every like Big 12 team. I think if I recall, I had Kansas going 7-5. I think I had West Virginia going 7-5. That's why I've been like diehard saying West Virginia is going to go 7-5, because like I had West Virginia going 7-5. I remember West Virginia fan like, we're going to go 10-2. No, you're not. It's Neil Brown, dude. It's Neil Brown. He's not that good, man.
You're right.
He's not that good. He's not. So, yeah, I mean, I still could be wrong. They could go worse than that. I mean, I'm lobbying for Neil Brown to keep his job, especially because everybody's like, oh, well, Signetti's got the West Virginia tie. He's going to go back there. So I don't want the West Virginia job open, and keep Neil Brown there. So, yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, and this comment about Austin is so true. I just like when people jump on bandwagon and oh, I love Alabama. They can plan on being 62. It's the same thing with Indiana. I will never forget the 2020 season with Penix. Everybody was on the Indiana bandwagon that year. Oh, my gosh, I love Tom Allen. I love the love each other slogan. It's awesome, man. Penix is great. Next 3 years, and Indiana sucked. They were all gone, dude. They were all gone. Now this year, Indiana's good again. Guess what? They're all back. And there's more people jumping on the bandwagon. Great. I mean, that's good. You want people to support a team. You want people to be interested in a team. That's how you build fan interest. That's how you build this repertoire of, oh, Florida or whatever, these programs that had a history and they won. And even though they suck right now, people still like, oh, it's Florida. That's a really good program. Well, that's the same thing with Indiana. If Indiana has a lot of good seasons in the future, then they could become not maybe Florida, but a program people like, yeah, Indiana's decent. But see, the thing with bandwagon fans, though, is the second Indiana goes back to being 4-8, people are going to be like, who cares? We don't care. It's Indiana. They suck. Even though they were supporting them a year or two ago. And that's the thing with Alabama. I will always be an Alabama fan no matter what. If Alabama goes 3-9 next year, which they're not, but if they did, I would still support Alabama football. I've been an Alabama fan since I was 4 years old. I'm not going to stop being a fan of Alabama football, even if they become a garbage program. I'm not going to do that. And even though Indiana has mostly been bad, I always, for whatever reason, had a really big soft spot for the Hoosiers. So I'm going to continue to support them, even if they suck again, because every year that I've watched them, outside of 2, they've been crap. So it's not going to change the way I feel. I like Indiana because I have a soft spot for them. I like Alabama because that's the team I grew up with, even though, yeah, they're one of the best teams in college football. It's not a bandwagon thing, but it doesn't matter how bad they get. I will always be there supporting them. Be sad that they suck, but I will support them. But some people, yeah, are bandwagon fans. There's nothing you can do about that. Austin says, he said Michigan was going to go 10-2. I had Michigan going 8-4, which pissed people off. I knew they'd be worse. I mean, they didn't have a QB. So I had them going 8-4, and dude, that pissed off people. Oh, that pissed off people. That wasn't wrong.
I'm so pissed now.
Honestly, I mean, I could have oversold them, because I mean, if they lose to Oregon, which they should. You never know, though. It's college football. But if they lose that game, they're 5-4. Then you have Ohio State and Indiana left. There is a shot, okay, that Michigan goes 6-6. Is who they got left? I know that they got Oregon, Ohio State, and
Indiana. And
What's
they got the
game?
Buckeyes, of course.
Northwestern.
Yep.
So they could go 6-6. They could go 6-6, which would be way worse than what I predicted. I had them going 8-4. I had them, if I recall in the preseason, I had Michigan losing to Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, and I think I had them losing to USC.
I had Michigan losing to Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State.
So you had them going 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had them going 8-4. So, I mean, dude, I knew they'd be worse, but I didn't know they'd be as anemic on offense as they have been this season. But, I mean, you never know. Stranger things have happened. But, I mean, realistically, at best, Michigan could go 7-5. I mean, if they beat Northwestern and somehow upset IU, which, man, I hope doesn't happen, but it could. Oregon and Ohio State, I don't see. I mean, obviously, I know that Ohio State is lost in the last 3 years, but this is a significantly different Michigan team. Not even close to the same Michigan team. And Oregon, if Oregon loses, that would just be sad. I mean, the way Michigan's been playing recently and the way Oregon's been playing, I mean, that would just be a complete 360. I know it's the big house. Anything's possible, but Oregon should win that game. Offensively, Oregon is so vastly superior to Michigan that it should not be a close game. And I agree, true fans are the ones that stick through to the end. That's why, like me and Jackson, you're going to see us here with Alabama no matter what, even if they become a mid-program. I hope that doesn't happen. But even if they are 6-6, 5-7 every year, we're still going to be fans of the team.
Agreed.
I mean, there's been Tennessee fans that have supported them since the end of the Fulmer era. It's been pretty rough. Nebraska fans, they still support their team even though they've been bad.
Like our buddy Justin Adams at Nebraska at the Voice of College Football. Go check him out.
Sports Talk with Austin. Yeah, Justin does a fantastic job over on the Nebraska channel. Austin says, Jeffrey, I made it through 2-10, 3-9 season of Louisville. I saw live never Lamar and Teddy. I'm still, there was some bad years, man. And now they're better. I mean, I would say Louisville is somewhat disappointed this season, but it hasn't been that bad. They're 5-3. They've had a relatively tough schedule, but it kind of goes back to my point, though. And I know that you're a Louisville fan, Austin. I completely understand supporting your team. I mean, I'm doing the same thing with IU at times, getting some flack for it. Honestly, though, this season kind of shows that Louisville last year was kind of not elite. They weren't a great team. They were a really good team last year. But if Louisville was in the SEC, they'd have a worse record. And the same thing, like Mike G said, I agree. If Indiana was in the SEC, would they be undefeated right now? Heck no. No, absolutely not. I completely concur. I agree 110%. Indiana's schedule, not that hard, just like Louisville's last year was not that hard. Louisville had a tougher schedule this year. They've lost more games. That's the way it works. When you're an average program and you have an easy schedule, you can have a breakthrough season. But when you are an average team and you have a harder schedule, you're going to have an average record. That's just the way that it works. Indiana's schedule, if I believe, is tougher in 2025 because it's already out.
Yeah, they got to go to Oregon next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. Indiana football's 2025 schedule is significantly harder.
Oh, yeah. But on the bright side, there's no Ohio State or Michigan next year. So that should be a win for them. Iowa, I got to be honest, I really don't know if Kirk Ferentz is still there next year. Does he?
Yeah, Indiana has to go at Iowa, at Oregon, at Penn State. Oh, my God. Oof. Purdue, if they're still bad.
Purdue's
at Maryland. Maryland is the home crowd. So, Wisconsin at home, UCLA at home, Michigan State at home, Illinois at home. That's not too bad. The 3 non-conference games are easy. But then you have those games against Oregon on the road, Penn State on those, probably losses for sure. Iowa's the iffy one. So, I could see 8-4 if Signetti's still there. I could see 8-4. But it's not going to be this year. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be as good of a year as this was, but it's because the schedule's harder. It's just the way it works.
Well, and Illinois looks pretty good. I mean, that could be a toss-up.
Yeah, I know. Like, Indiana could lose to Oregon, Penn State, maybe Iowa, maybe Illinois. You never know. 8-4. I mean, if Cignetti leaves, they could go 5-7, 6-6. I hope not. But I think if Cignetti stays, which I don't think he's going to leave, I could see 8-4. 8-4 that'd be good. I mean, for Indiana, that's good. People forget. Does anybody remember how bad they were? 8-4 will be really good. I'd be completely fine with 8-4. But we got Austin joining the show. Appreciate you for coming on, man.
Austin, hello. Can you hear us?
There you are. Okay. Face freeze. We're good. Computer froze. I hit enter studio and it froze up. It didn't quite show up, but we're here now.
No,
all right, Jeffrey.
You're good.
All right, Jeffrey and Jackson. I'm going to lay the law down right here. Alabama, they suck. No need more to talk about them. Let's turn this into the Louisville show, guys. Much better content.
Okay. I know you're joking on that one. Alabama does not suck. They're not as good, but they don't suck.
And no, I'm not. I'm not being serious with y'all on that one. I love to try to.
It's all out. You're all good.
But I will say
that's like me saying Colorado sucks this year. I can't say that. Colorado is better. Colorado, kudos to Deion. They are better this year. They don't suck.
Well, I mean, Bryce said we're going to see Deion Sanders back on 60 Minutes.
Well, I'd rather Kurt Cignetti should be on 60 Minutes. Obviously, I probably still wouldn't watch it because it's 60 Minutes. But hey, Kurt Cignetti makes more sense. Come on, they already had Deion on there.
See, here's the thing. Kurt Cignetti go on the Joe Rogan Experience. That'd be pretty cool. Be like,
yeah,
man. Oh yeah, who are you again? I saw you on TV once.
Yeah, you're the I'll win, Google me, I'll win guy.
Yeah, his famous line, Google me, I win.
I hope he never doesn't win, because if he don't, the people are going to turn that back around and just make complete fun of him, man. I swear. And the thing is, back in the 70s, no one would even care. Like, if he just said, I win, look me up in the newspaper, nobody would care, because it was not the social media era. But now that it's Google me, I win, and everybody's got social media, nothing gets forgotten. So if he has a 3-9 year at IU or anywhere for that matter, he goes to Florida, he goes 5-7, people would be like, what happened to Google me, I win? Trust me. So, can you imagine just back in the 70s, though, and he says, I win, look me up in the newspaper. No one would even care about that comment.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Jeffrey, go ahead, Austin.
Is that a Memphis t-shirt you got on? I think.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I thought. Let's
get that. I got some different teams, man. I got some different t-shirts and different teams. I do. I'm so glad you noticed that's a Memphis team. Yeah, I got a Memphis shirt.
Jeffrey's secret coming out party. He's a Memphis Tigers fan.
Oh my gosh. I'm not a I don't dislike Memphis. I mean, I can't keep adding teams to the bandwagon, but I know a few people that have been there and went to the university and family members and stuff. So, it's kind of like Jackson. He got gifted that Wisconsin shirt or sweater or whatever. He's worn that Wisconsin one before. So it's like, you get a Memphis t-shirt, you got to wear it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, man.
We'll say, since this is the Alabama channel, let's talk some Crimson Tide, because me and Jackson, we had some interesting conversations this past on our show about Alabama and how next week could be the biggest game of the season. I want to ask you guys, is there a potential path for Alabama back to the SEC title game with a win?
Oh, yeah. Well, Johnny and I talked a little bit about it on this week's show, and we're going to need a lot of scenarios to win. And Austin, what is it that I always say? What was it that I always say?
Well, Jackson, you say a lot of things, but this is your most famous one. You never put yourself in a position where you need someone to win for you or lose for you.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that is the exact situation Alabama's in. But honestly, I give 0 cents about the SEC title game. I don't care about the SEC title game. All Bama's got to do, they do control their own destiny to get into the playoff. Win out. That's it. All that scenario stuff, I don't know if you heard earlier, Austin, but in my opinion, I think it would be better for Alabama to not make the SEC title game, because if they lose in the SEC title game, if they're 10-2, losing the SEC title game, they're not making the playoff at 10-3. So they will make the playoff at 10-2. It's the same thing with Indiana. Indiana being 11-1, and then if they made the Big Ten title game, that would actually hurt their chances if they lost that game. It'd be better for Indiana to just be 11-1 and get in. It'd be better for Bama just to be 10-2 and get in my opinion, than to make the title game. But yeah, they still have a shot. I'm sure Jax is going to read the scenarios off. I've looked at him some too, but there's still a shot. But honestly, it would be better for Alabama just to not make the SEC title game.
Well, of course, we need Georgia to lose one at the very least. We need them to lose to either Tennessee or Ole Miss or perhaps Florida.
And I told you Vanderbilt's not going to be in the conversation by the end of the season. They're not.
Nope. And let's see. We need to beat LSU. That's very obvious.
Yes.
We need
Tennessee.
So here's my. We need Tennessee. Let's look at them. They need to lose 2 of their conference games, like Kentucky. They need to lose to Georgia for our sakes. They need to lose to either Vanderbilt, Kentucky, or Mississippi State. They're not losing to Mississippi State or Kentucky.
But see, Georgia needs to lose again. That's the thing, though. You're saying like Georgia needs to lose again, obviously, and Tennessee has to lose again. The problem is, though, if Tennessee loses again, wouldn't they still have the tiebreaker over Alabama?
Yes,
though, because
that's about ready to bring.
They both have 2 losses, so that doesn't matter. Tennessee, they have to lose twice more, which isn't probably going to happen. If Georgia with Tennessee, the problem is like who else do they play? Don't they have maybe Ole Miss? Like, there's not. It's too crazy. I don't see it. It's too crazy.
And here's the thing.
Texas, they've got Arkansas, Florida, Kentucky, and Texas A&M.
Outside of A&M, it's not hard.
So let me ask you guys this. How shocked are you that Texas A&M is sitting at first place as we sit tonight? And before you answer that, Jackson, what have I been telling you about Texas A&M all year? I've said Mike Elko is the man for the job, and you're like, it's Texas A&M, good buddy. They let you down when you least expect it. Well, as we sit right now, they're in the driver's seat to go to Atlanta in a couple weeks.
Well, who does A&M finish with besides Texas?
South Carolina and Auburn. They've got South Carolina and Auburn. Now South Carolina's kind of looking like a trap game. And Auburn,
they need to lose that one.
Oh yeah,
they need to lose that one. That would open up a lot of paths that it would get a little weird. Alabama's not going to make it. I don't want them to make it anyway. They don't need to make it. I know they get in the title game and win, seeding, whatever. Dude, just no. Dude, you don't want Alabama making the title game. They can win the title game, but honestly, it would just be better if they don't make it. And I agree. Congrats, Austin, on saying Elko was going to do well. I said in my video, because I made a video on it last year when Elko got the job, I said it was a good hire overall, but I was more on Jackson's side that I was like, it's A&M. 8-4, But hey, he's doing better than that. So good job, good call on that.
And he seems to be doing a lot better than Jimbo, because I mean,
really anybody should do better than Jimbo with that program. A&M's got so much money. They got so much freaking money, man. They should win. That's why we've been making fun of them since 1940.
Well, and I made this point, and the point was I said Mike Elko is going to do something that Jimbo could not do, and that was put respect back in the program. Make the program prestigious once again. Make it a place where people want to go play, where people are like, hey, I can win here.
What'd you say, Jeffrey?
Besides money, like because people did want to go to A&M with Jimbo because of money. That's why they had the #1 recruiting class. They just also got the heck out of Dodge once they sucked, and they were doing things they shouldn't in the locker room.
And
the point that Austin's saying about prestige back, it's also cleaning up the program. I mean, Austin's right. Like Elko is making A&M look a lot better. They have the money. Players are going to want to go there because of that fact alone, but it's also because of the fact like the program looked like garbage because everybody knew they were doing a lot of things that they should. Kind of like how Georgia looks tainted right now, but still no one really cares because Kirby wins and you know that and all that stuff, and they get a lot of money too at Georgia. But hey, they got a lot of problems too. There's players committing.
Oh, that's true. Like Georgia, yeah, because like Georgia's winning a lot with Kirby, no one really talks about it. But if it was like a Syracuse or a Baylor,
Indiana,
or Wake Forest, it would be like the top headline on ESPN.
It's ridiculous, Jackson. Georgia's program is one of the most unclean programs that I've ever seen. They have so many problems that nobody gives one flying flip about, and they should care. It is ridiculous how many problems they have. A&M's got exposed more because A&M sucked. But with Georgia, it's like, doesn't matter. Oh, another guy got a DUI. Another guy did a crime. It's no big deal. He's back on the field this week. It's all good. You know, whatever.
Oh, yeah, he's driving drunk. But
you didn't see that. You didn't see that with Alabama with Saban. Those guys got in trouble once they got in the NFL.
I want to bring this up because the reason why I brought Texas A&M up, and this all does tie into Alabama, right? What's the essence of success in the SEC? Winning titles, right? And Mike Elko, after they beat LSU this past Saturday, when he went to his post-game presser, he simply flat out said, this is no longer going to be the BS that was here once before. We're going to win titles and we're going to make playoffs here. So, and he said, buckle down your trench straps if you come on playing for Texas A&M because it's about to get real.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like they are definitely trending in that direction to do that. I mean, at the top of the SEC. I mean, I'm shocked they are. Absolutely. I'm shocked that they are at the top of the SEC. But, I mean, the more you look at it, it kind of becomes less shocking in a way because, I mean, A&M has the money and the talent to be a great team, but they just didn't, you know, they never did it. You know, they do with Jimbo or you know, Sumlin. They just never did it. So, and you also look at like an Elko, right? Like a lot of people are saying, well, Elko, he went from a program like Duke to A&M. That's why people are saying, oh, Cignetti's going to do the same thing. Elko's also a young guy, and he had bigger aspirations too. That's why Duke didn't have a shot to keep him. And yeah.
And the thing too is, the thing about it is like you said, Jeffrey, he came from Duke, right? Where he developed a lot of 2 and 3 stars and a lot of walk-ons. At A&M, he's getting 5 stars handed to him, like you've been saying with the money. And that's the thing. How is Elko going to handle that? Because those 5 stars come in with the attitude like, me, I'm the star here. I'm making your money, coach. Like, whereas at Duke, he could build them up and say, you're the guy. Whereas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, they got money coming out the wazoo. These players come in thinking, I'm the man around here. I'm going to be the number 1 player.
Yeah, some of them, they get away with that popping off at one another, gossiping about one another. Like, I don't see how, like, some of those coaches, they're not going to put up with that crap.
It's really frustrating, though, because, I mean, the thing is, I got nothing against the guy getting an NIL, and I got nothing against the guy, you know, getting paid to be as good of a player as he is. I mean, he's bringing a lot of money to the university. Fans, people want to see them, all that. I get it. But at the same time, you got a bunch of players that get a bunch of money that really aren't mature, and then they do really stupid stuff. Because, I mean, think about it. You know, most of these guys with these big programs that are getting, like, a lot of NIL, like $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is, they're also getting, like, a car that a person with that type of money would drive. And that's why, like, Georgia's having all these DUIs and speeding incidences. Why is that happening? Because they're not driving Toyota Camrys and Honda Accords. They're driving Lamborghinis and crap. And it's like, that's fine, but, I mean, like, even NFL players, that's why Tyreek Hill, that's all the whole Tyreek Hill thing happened. driving in his McLaren. He gets in trouble for speeding 110 miles an hour. You can't do that on a pedestrian road, man. I mean, if you want to drive 110, you go on a racetrack. There's plenty of them around the country. Go on a local track, go around the track, drive as fast as you want. That's all you got to do. But these players, even when they're in the pros, when they got money, they do stupid stuff. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have the money, but they need to know how to act when they have the money. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, you have to act still like a good person overall, and you can't be doing stupid stuff and think you can get away with it because you're an athlete. That's what I don't like. True. And I don't like that some of these programs like Georgia get away with it. I don't like that because
That's true. And I think, honestly, like a lot of these players, they've been around people that have not been good with money, and it's rubbed off on them. And there's a saying that I've always heard that you are the average of 5 people. If you're around people that are hardworking and doing a good job, that's going to rub off on you. If you're around people that have like a smoking habit or a drinking habit or overeating habit, that's going to rub off on you.
Oh, that's why when you're in a family and like they all weigh 500 pounds and you're going to end up weighing 500 pounds because you develop the habits of every single other person in your family. I mean, that's kind of how that happens.
Yeah.
not to cut either of you off. Not to cut either of you off here, but this is a great example, right? And Jeffrey, before you say anything, hear me out. Deion Sanders. I know I keep bringing him up, prime time, all that. If you watch some of the videos, like in the media stuff that they do, Deion is actually teaching these players about life. Like some of these coaches are teaching them about life. Like, and I know people say, "Oh, that's all for show. It's just to get the media." No, Deion is one of them coaches, and like Nick Saban, they were all about teaching you life, like life lessons. Like if you act it up, yeah, and if you act it up, they let you hear about it because not only are they teaching, not only are you going to be a student athlete, but they eventually you're going to leave Alabama and whatever it is you did in life. Guess what? Life will kick you in the butt real quick if you're not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always just about money, but I mean, that's why you've had a lot of athletes in the past that have accumulated a lot of money and then they didn't manage it right, or they had a bad deal with somebody that they like took all their money. I mean, Mike Tyson. I mean, dude got broke because he blew all of his money. Dude was loaded, and he lost all of his money. He's got some of it back, and then you also had Allen Iverson. He almost lost it all, but he had a trust fund where he had like $40 million of his money in a trust fund. If he didn't have that in there, he would have been broke. He was losing everything, and he had one thing tucked away. And it wasn't even because of him. Someone else did it for him. So
Zion Williamson's another example because he had the creepy P-word lawyer advising him and his family.
Yeah, that was smart. Not. I mean, literally though, there's just so many sad examples of this stuff, and honestly, I think it needs to be highlighted more. It does. Like I've seen more and more like universities have been doing like educational programs on how to manage your money, how to not blow your money, and this stuff needs to be said because people don't need to blow their money. I mean, you're getting a privilege to earn this money. You can't be stupid and lose it all. And it's not even just again about the money, but you can tell almost the person based off their habits of spending. That happens a lot. Like if you're saving your money, you're not blowing your money, you're typically not going to do stupid things. It does go hand in hand most often.
Well, and I do want to say this though, on a better note, I don't know how. I know a lot of this award that I'm not ready to talk about is mostly a quarterback award, but
yeah,
what are the chances you all think Ryan Williams could be a finalist this year?
I think he's
for the Heisman.
He had a shot to win the Georgia game, but Bama's faded out of the picture. And Ron Williams hasn't even had that massive of an impact in a few games, mostly because of Milroe's inability to get the ball to him, or really just, and even a lot of people have said this, but like defenses have been abusing Ron Williams and like no one's calling anything because he's a really small guy. So honestly, I don't think so. I mean, could he be close to a finalist? Maybe, but he's got no shot to win. I don't think he'll be a finalist either. I mean, right now it's a 4-man race. Everybody's saying it's Travis Hunter, Genty, Cam Ward, and Dylan Gabriel. And the thing to me is honestly, I think Travis Hunter and Genty should be above the other two. But since it's a QB award, Genty and Travis Hunter have fallen behind in the odds to Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel, which I think is ridiculous, honestly.
Here's the thing. I would have personally – I know people might say I'm crazy, but I had Jalen Milroe winning it at the beginning of the year, to be honest with you. I thought – because he's got all the God-gifted talent you could want in a quarterback. But these last couple games, I think, have ruined it. He might not even make it into the final 5 at this point.
After the Georgia game, he was the favorite. He actually was the betting favorite right after the Georgia game. Ever since that, he's tanked off far down the list. I think he's like 10th. Or something like that on the list. He probably doesn't have
more like 15th, but
10 to 15. He's fallen. So
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a bad pick, Austin. It was not a bad pick to think. I don't really do like preseason Heisman predictions or projections. I've never really done that. Not that I don't care. I don't really care that much, but it's just so hard when there's like 50 players that you realistically could make a case for. So I just don't ever really do it. But I did in my mind think Milroe was going to be there because he was on like everybody's like top list in the preseason. So I was like, that makes sense. I mean, he was actually, didn't he finish like 6th in the voting last year? He was like 6th or 7th. So, I mean, it was clear that he was going to be a candidate this year. But yeah, he's fallen off.
Well, and also got some news on Brian Williams. He took an NIL deal with Uber Eats, and on the bright side, seems like he's going to get some Uber drivers again real soon.
And see,
he's barely old enough to drive. That's the thing that's so funny about it. He's barely old enough to drive, man.
See, here's the thing. I'm with you guys. I don't mind players getting their money because you're putting their faces on posters, magazines, video games. Like Jackson,
right.
You've even said yourself live on air, if someone's going to put your face on a video game or a magazine, you want a little cut of it.
Exactly. I better by God get a cut if my face is on a magazine.
Like Jeffrey, I'm sure you're the same way, right? If right now, if you were put on a video game, you'd be like, do I at least get a cut? Or are you going to take it all? Like you would want a little cut.
Brainer. I mean, you should. I mean, they have to legally. They should. You know, if they're using your image or name, you should get paid. I mean, if I was being put on a video game cover, I'd be like, wow, that's insane. I mean, well, I was like, I'm John Madden, unreal. That'd be crazy. But yeah, obviously, like that, it shouldn't even be a question. You should get a cut of that because they're using your image.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like jersey sales, isn't that a part of the NIL too? Like, don't players get a percentage if you buy their jerseys?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've never really seen an issue with like a player making money off his own autographs, where it's like somebody's paying him to sign an autograph. It's like, how is that like a scandal exactly? Shouldn't a scandal be like stealing money behind the school's back? I mean that sounds more like a scandal to me than a player making money off his own autograph. Like that's just me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's also like legal. I mean, I understand that because you're supposed to be like, oh, well, you know, it's the jersey sales or like their image, whatever they put it on or whatever, or if they make YouTube content, whatever. Well, the problem is like you got a bunch of boosters and you got a bunch of businesses. I mean, everybody remembers like when NIL was still kind of early, right? Everybody remembers the dude down in Miami that was that Life Wallet guy.
Shapiro.
Yeah, and he was getting Nigel Pack and all that, and Isaiah Wong to stay at Miami basketball. Like everybody remembers that, and stuff like that is kind of broken because I mean, as for like A&M or Texas, they have so much oil money. Oil has nothing to do with the University of Texas or University of Texas A&M. They got nothing to do with those universities, but they can align themselves with those universities and then give a lot of money to those universities, and then players go there. That's where it's just messy because it's like you can't even regulate that stuff. You know, like you're taking it out of the player doing something. So it's like, oh, Ron Williams, you're an incredible player. Look at that juggle catch. You want to put that on a T-shirt? go ahead. People will buy a T-shirt of you juggling that ball and catching it or whatever, something like that. Or the spin move, the double spin move play. Instead of it being like that, it's like, oh, Ron Williams, you got to deal with Uber Eats now or whatever. It's like, again, he's barely old enough to drive. And plus, it always just cracks me up, Jackson, when you got celebrities like Dion or Shadur or like celebrity coaches or players, like famous ones, Arch Manning. Like Arch Manning's in the Fansville Dr. Pepper commercials. By the way, I like the Fansville Dr. Pepper commercials. But like those athletes don't drink Dr. Pepper or I'm eating Subway or whatever. If they ate that junk, they wouldn't be able to play.
They wouldn't be
in shape. So you're advertising stuff you don't even
they would be.
That's
exactly,
what I don't.
like,
something about that bothers me. They should be like advertising healthy food, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's like
it's garbage. They just know that the most people that sit on their couch and watch football all day are not in shape, and they are ordering wings. They are getting soda. That's the thing. They know their audience. I'm not that audience because I don't eat like crap all the time. I don't weigh 500 pounds, but I just think that's stupid. You know what I'm saying? That you've got athletes advertising fat food. That's just stupid to me. I think it's dumb. I think it's wrong. I think it's exploitation, to be honest. I think it's ridiculous. And I know some people say, how is it exploitation? Because unfortunately, there are some people dumb enough to buy the fact that they eat that crap. That's why it's exploitation. I'm not stupid. You're not stupid. You're not stupid. I'm sure our chat's not stupid, but there's a lot of people that are stupid that actually would believe that those people actually eat that stuff. No, they don't.
So I want to ask this, because I want to get y'all's early thoughts. I know a lot of things are going to happen this weekend, but next week's the first CFP ranking. What are we thinking for Alabama? Where do we thinking they'll end up at? If we had a rough guess right now, if all the results go the way they should, does Alabama make it into the first 12?
No.
I think they do. I think if they weren't Alabama, they wouldn't be in the top 12. Well,
they shouldn't be. I mean, they haven't done anything to be in the top 12 outside of the win over Georgia. But, I mean, I'm going off of what Austin just said, though, that if every game this week, so that's assuming Indiana wins, right? That assumes some of these teams win. Because obviously, if you have a team like Clemson lose, if Clemson loses to Virginia Tech, or Iowa State loses to Kansas, or next week or whatever, or Indiana loses to Michigan next week. That's next week. You go to this week and you look at some of the games that these teams play. Indiana loses to Michigan State. You also have games like obviously Ohio State, Penn State's not going to matter at the end of the day because those teams are going to be ranked ahead no matter what. Iowa State loses to Texas Tech. Stuff like that. Go further down. Clemson loses to Louisville. A&M loses to South Carolina. Stuff like that. Yeah, Alabama's going to be in the top 12. But if all those teams win next week, so if all the teams ranked ahead of Alabama in the AP poll all win next week, then no, Alabama should not be ranked in the top 12. Now, will they? Maybe Jackson's right. Maybe they will. I don't think they should, though. I don't.
Right.
I feel like I agree with Jackson. If it wasn't Alabama and the brand supremacy that you all bring, I feel like they would be disrespectful and put you at like 17 or something. But the fact that you beat Georgia, who everyone says is arguably the best team in college football, even to this day, not as many anymore, but there's still those people out there. They're going to look at that and say, well, Alabama did beat Georgia. Who did you beat?
Okay, so if Indiana beats Michigan State this Saturday, obviously if they lose, then they're out of the conversation. Who cares? But if they beat Michigan State on Saturday, do you think that the CFP people are actually going to rank Alabama ahead of Indiana in the CFP rankings? That would just be unfair. That would be unfair.
It's a possibility. Listen, but here's the thing, Jeffrey. I'm not disagreeing with you. I want people to understand I'm not disagreeing with your point, but we got to think it's Alabama.
Who the heck has Iowa State played? Okay, some of these other teams haven't played anybody either, right? Like, and again, I'm an Alabama fan. This is a weird scenario where I'm talking about two teams that I like. We know this. That's why you were saying torn between two. I'm an Alabama fan before an Indiana fan. But I still think Indiana deserves to be ranked ahead of Alabama, and that's coming from me. That's what.
Here's the thing, Jeffrey. what do you always tell me? It's all about the money and the brand supremacy.
That's
They'll look at that and
garbage,
say,
man. That's garbage. Alabama can get right back in if they just win. You beat LSU, a couple of those other teams lose.
well, Jeffrey,
put them
because
back
here's
in.
the thing.
But they don't deserve
Like,
it
I'm
right
not
now.
Because here's the thing, Jeffrey. Here's the thing. Last year's a great example, right? We all agree Florida State should have been in, right, over
Yes.
Alabama. And you two are the biggest diehard Bama fans I've ever met. And you all even have said on air that that was some highway robbery. But it's because you're Alabama.
I feel though that if Florida State didn't have the injury to Jordan Travis, then they would have put Florida State in the college football playoff. That's baloney because they've never ever left a team out because of an injury. But I do believe that at the end of the day, they realized watching Florida State suck against Louisville, that they're gonna get the doors blown off of them if they make the playoffs. They knew that, right? And they sucked against Florida too. Because honestly, and I told you this, Austin, I told you this, and it's nothing against your Cardinals, but I told you that Louisville should have beaten Florida State last year without Travis. Florida State sucked. They sucked. And Louisville still lost. I mean, are you kidding me right now? That would have eliminated Florida State. And eliminated them. Then they've been done. But they beat them, which was insane. I'm like, Louisville's going to win. Like, without Travis. But the thing is like that the voters looked at the Florida game and the Louisville game and they're like, well, they suck. They're horrible. They're going to get destroyed. So they left them out. I don't think it's fair though. I don't. I think it's ridiculous.
Jeffrey.
But if Travis didn't get hurt though, then they would have put him in. I think. I mean, we will never know, but they would have put Florida State in over Alabama in my opinion if he didn't get hurt. But that's my opinion. We'll never know though.
Like, I just want to say this. I'm agreeing with you, Jeffrey. I want people to understand. I think it's wrong that they do this, but you have to think, Jeffrey, all this is about money. If they think Indiana gives them the best playoff game, they'll be like, sure. But more likely, they're going to see Jalen Milroe in Alabama and think of the possibilities of them playing Penn State in the first round or playing Texas in the first round or playing like a big brand team and going to their environment first. Whereas they'll look at Indiana and be like, do we really want to see Texas, Indiana? This could be an old-fashioned country whipping by Texas. It's bad.
Well, see, that's the problem with money because money is important because if you don't make money, then you're not going to have a business. And the NCAA is a business. Okay, well, no matter what you want to say, the student athletes first. Dude, come on. The NCAA is a business. They make money. And all these conferences make money. So, yeah, of course, Alabama football is 10 times the brand Indiana football is. Like, I get it. Look at the Twitter following. Alabama's got 1.2 million followers. Indiana's got 135,000. Now, granted, before Signetti got there, they were barely at 100,000. So, they're moving up. But they're still way behind. And it will take years and years of Signetti winning ball games to even put a dent in it if he stays. But the thing is that in a scenario like this, though, when you have a 12-team playoff now, this isn't a 4-team playoff. You got a 12-team playoff, and you've got multiple brands, right? Like you're going to have all these brands playing now in the playoff. You're going to have the Texases, you're going to have the Oregons, you're going to have all these teams. If you leave out Indiana over a team like Alabama, with Indiana having less losses, that would be unfair. I mean, why play the games at all? There's no point in playing the games. I agree with Austin, though. You can come back, Austin, if you had a disconnection, but I don't know. I don't know. The thing is with Alabama is I've already made my point with the rest of the season. It is cut and dry as it comes. They went out, they're in. If they lose another game, they're not getting in. And if they do get in somehow, that's ridiculous. They should not get in with 3 losses. Especially with a loss to Vanderbilt. It just shouldn't happen.
No.
But Austin asked the specific question of when the CFP rankings come out, will Alabama be ranked? They might be, but they shouldn't. That's all I have to say. They should not be ranked right now. They need to beat LSU and get back in. That's what they need to do. Because to me, as of right now, they are not in. They are not in. That's just my opinion. They should not be in.
Yeah.
And I'm being unbiased. I'm not leaning toward IU. I like Alabama better than Indiana. I'm just saying as a unbiased, college football fan or reporter, whatever you want to call it. Again, yeah. I honestly just don't think Alabama's done enough to be in the playoff right now. I know that win over Georgia. I get it. I mean, but it's one win versus 2 losses. And I agree with Mike G. If Alabama had Indiana's schedule, they'd be undefeated, right? I get that. But, hey, I mean, okay, they lost to Vanderbilt. How many teams has Indiana beaten that are better than Vanderbilt?
Quite a few.
Do you think Nebraska is better than Vanderbilt?
Obviously, yeah.
Is Washington better than Vanderbilt?
That's a toss-up.
So that's already 2. That are at least comparable or better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again,
Michigan's definitely better.
Yeah, Michigan's definitely better. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I get, like, Austin's absolutely right. Like, I agree with what he's saying, absolutely. But the problem is that you can't let money blind you, and that's what always happens. Why is all this realignment happen? Why does the transfer portal happen? Why does any of this happen? Money. And most of this has been bad for the sport. Realignment has not been good for the sport. People are like, oh, we got all these big games now. You could have had these non-conference games that were great, but you didn't want that because it hurt your chances to make the championship game. When players used to care, oh, I make the Peach Bowl, I make the Cotton Bowl, that's cool. No one cares anymore because it's all about playoff. I don't know. I just feel like when you let money blind you, it makes things bad. It turns everything up on its head, upside down, and it creates a lot more problems than solutions. And then you have more problems, and you're trying to create more solutions, which then therefore creates more problems. It's a never-ending chain reaction, and it puts you further and further down the hole. So that's just my opinion.
Well, we've talked a lot about X accounts. And here's one X account you're going to want to check out, or Twitter account. If you don't like to call it X, that's okay. You can check out on X, formerly known as Twitter, to come on and check out the Voice of College Football X account, where you can get some of the top-notch college football analysis. And I'll tell you right now, it'll be a wild ride. And let's get it to 10,000 followers, everyone. I can tell you right now, we're going to need to get it there as much as possible because, I mean, this is the place for college football diehards. Discussion, debate, analysis with no off-season.
Absolutely. 100%. And that also where you can keep up with all the shows because I know that a lot of people have a hard time sometimes finding all the different, live streams that are going on around the Voice of College Football. The Twitter account or X account at the Voice of College Football Network is where you can find all the shows. The people, tweet the shows out there, and you can find them all on the Voice of College Football X account. So definitely would appreciate if you guys go follow over there so you can not miss out on any of the content, like the Michigan call-in show right there. And obviously the Indiana show that, I host every Tuesday night is going to be there. The Alabama show that we're doing right now on there. The Ole Miss channel. A lot of stuff that you want to check out over there. And the Voice of College Football X account is where you'll find a lot of stuff if you can't find it on YouTube. So definitely would appreciate that.
Agreed. This is the place to be for college football diehards like us and yourselves as well. And I can tell you right now, there is a top-notch place you're definitely going to want to go to this holiday season or this Christmas season, because I'm going to tell you right now, here's a perfect place to be.
Can't wait for Christmas, man. It's a busy time of year, but
and a happy new year. The Voice of College Football merchandise at topqualityshirts.com, where you can get some top-notch shirts, coffee cups, can coolers. I don't care about your team. And here's the Voice of College Football notebook. If you need something to vent about, something's bothering you.
Like a football game that your team lost, you can rant about it and write it all down in the Voice of College Football notebook. That's a perfect place for that.
Oh, yeah. Or something's bothering you at home or at work. You feel the need to write it down?
And you don't want everybody on Twitter knowing about it. Instead of writing it on there, you can write it in the notebook.
Exactly. It keeps all your deepest, darkest secrets safe.
Unless somebody finds it. Then I can't help you.
Agreed. It will keep it safe. That I can promise you. And a wine glass goes perfectly with that notebook as well. Especially if
you're sitting in your lazy boy
headache.
and you got your notebook and then you got a wine glass right next to it. You can't beat that.
There you go. I mean, if you're having a bad day, the voice of college football wine glass will cure it. That I can promise you. Then you got the bathing suit. You know it's never too early or too late to prepare for summer. The voice of college football flag, the phone case, the blue jean jacket, especially if you're a big fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is the fashionable choice right there for the fall. Hoodies, socks, long sleeve shirts.
I mean, you could deck your whole, like, everything, like part of your house, like your whole outfit for the day. You got the socks, the shorts, the shirt, the jackets, everything.
That pint glass, that is a go-to cup for when you're getting drunk, getting loaded for Saturday nights. And
hey, you can put some water in it.
There you go. Put some water in it.
That's what I'd be doing. I'd be putting some water in it. Maybe some sweet tea.
There you go. Put some Gatorade in it. Put any kind of drink in it, and you can use it to show off to your friends. Oh, hey, I got this voice of college football glass. This is a go-to glass.
And then they're like, "What's the voice of college football?" Well, I'm glad you asked. Definitely, show them the merchandise, show them the channel. If you know a college football fan in your life, they're gonna want to check out the voice of college football and all of the team channels, especially if they have a favorite team. And a lot of teams are coming on the way. More teams are coming.
Oh, there we go. And there's that pet bowl.
The dog is not included. I swear it should be, though, man.
But the dog definitely wants you to go get the pet bowl. Could you say no to a sweet face like that? I know I can't. I know he can't. I know none of you can't.
So adorable, man. So adorable.
It's just, no, you can't do it. You can't say no. So, and with that being said, and I don't think we're going to have any callers in the next minute or so. What you want to do, man? Enjoy the rest of. There we go. And on that note, we will definitely end this show on, well, any final words and what you got going on your adventures this week, man?
Oh, absolutely. It was a fantastic show. Appreciate you guys for being here on this Halloween night. On the East Coast, it's no longer Halloween, but Jackson back in the past has still got another hour or at least 52 minutes of Halloween. But do appreciate you guys for being here. Absolutely appreciate that, Jackson. Those are my NFL picks and predictions this week for week 9. I've been doing them every single week. If you are an NFL fan, yes, this is college football, but on my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports, I do NFL content as well. If you're a fan of the NFL, you're going to want to find out what my predictions are. Right now, I'm actually got an 81-42 record on predicting every single game through 8 weeks. So I'm like 75% correct right now. It's pretty good. I mean, like, I'm better than last year. Now, the spread, I don't really pay attention as much to that because I know my record's a whole lot worse than that. So don't bet the spread on my picks. But if you're betting the winner, again, I don't give betting advice, but not too bad. So definitely appreciate if you guys check out my video there if you're an NFL fan. And those are my links on YouTube, Only Talk Sports. You can find me there, X/Twitter. You can find me at Only Talk Sports and Rumble. I got a Rumble account. I don't advertise it that much, but you can check me out on Rumble too. I'm getting close to 100 followers on Rumble. Definitely would appreciate the support over there, but definitely YouTube though. If you're not on Rumble, YouTube, if you're not subscribed to my channel, Only Talk Sports, I would really appreciate if you guys do subscribe and check it out. Got content coming every single day, or at least I try to. And also the Indiana channel as well, the Voice of College Football. You are not going to want to miss that as well. Every Tuesday night at 7, go live for that and for the post games after the game. Definitely Indiana having a great year. Would appreciate if you guys check that out as well. But it was a great show tonight. Very exciting that Alabama had a great game against Missouri last week. And hopefully they learn a lot of things during this bye week to prepare for that big game against LSU. But Jackson, take it away.
There we go. And you can check me out on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979. where I have some of my episodes of the Jacksonian on there and on Jackson VOCFB on X. And of course, I put out my updates on the Jacksonian and Alabama with the Voice of College Football on Jackson VOCFB on X and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908, including my latest episode of the Jacksonian with the Ohio State beat writer for Buttnuts 247 at 247 Sports, the one and only Patrick Murphy, as we go over quite a lot about the Ohio State-Nebraska game, Ohio State-Penn State, what's going on with Ryan Day. We go over the rest of the Ohio State season and much, much more. And I can tell you right now, it's something you're going to want to tell the cashiers at Kroger about. And with that,
or Publix or Safeway or any of the other of your local grocers.
Agreed. You gonna want to tell the cashiers about all of it, because I mean they gotta have something to look forward to when they get off their shift. With that being said, we wish you all a good night and sleep well, stay safe, stay warm, stay away from that rain, because you're gonna get sick if you're outside in that rain. Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell for Alabama with the Voice of College Football so you do not miss another video whatsoever. And we will see you soon on Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Alabama Crimson Tide Live, the 11th edition, where it's LSU week. Take care, everybody.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. There we go.